Welcome to the Underbelly podcast, brought to you by Clarity Financial, as we peek underneath, poke around, and expose the unexposed stories of the week about finance, economics, politics, and life. I'm Brent Clanton, executive producer of The Lance Roberts Show and The Real Investment Hour. We wanted to create a forum for exchanging stories, ideas, and anecdotes that deserve more in-depth, unfiltered conversations, plus allow you a glimpse behind the scenes. As always, we welcome your feedback. Find us on Facebook or online at realinvestmentadvice.com. Now, let's step inside the studio for the Underbelly podcast, starting now. And we're here.
Every time the podcast talks about poking around, I realize I'm so late for scheduling my colonoscopy. I mean, that poking around is a really good reminder that you need to get stuff done. Listen, we don't like to, how can I say it? We don't like to leave the financial services industry to their own devices. Yeah. We like to turn them around and see what's going on beneath the surface. Sometimes it's damn ugly. And John Coumarianos and I and a lot of us here see it every day. I always equate the financial industry to where I grew up. There was a great garbage dump, right? And in the summer, all these beautiful flowers would come. And I said, I still know there's shit underneath. Welcome to financial services.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to give a quick market update. Speaking of the underbelly, we're going to actually go above it a little bit and talk about that. What's going on there, sir?
S&P 500 through last night is up 4 and change for the year.
Really?
So,
what a ride, though.
Yeah, what a ride to get that 4% so far.
You know what? That's what we call risk premium, right?
That's including dividends, by the way.
Last year, you sort of got a free ride.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Market closes higher every month.
Yeah.
I call it the smoothest glass ride up, right? It's like that taking that ride up, very quiet, everything's copacetic, and then what happens?
Right. So we'll see that we're almost halfway through the year with a 4% gain. Not bad so far, but of course things have been so volatile. We'll see what happens.
I want my 4% now.
Yeah.
I want it now.
Right.
Investors really need to wake up just a little bit and realize that, oh, it's been 3 months and my portfolio is not doing anything. Part of it is education.
Yeah.
The other part of it is maybe you just gotten darn greedy.
Right. I mean, I think 4% or even 3% is probably what we're forecasting.
Right here.
Yeah, that would mean
you should be thankful.
Yeah, that's a pretty good return given a Schiller PE of 32. So if we get that, if you get 4% for the next decade annually, that's be happy with that.
Be happy with that.
Yeah.
And we talk about this a lot. We're finding fixed income bonds going out 2 or 3 years at rates we haven't seen.
Now you're getting some yield.
A decade.
Yes. Yeah, the bond market's down, prices are down, and the whole index is down 2% for the year. But that means if you have fresh money to invest, you can get better yields than you could at the beginning of the year. So rates have come up. 2-year treasuries around 2.5%. 10-year is around 3%. So, and then corporate's a little more, of course. So you can get some yield now. It's really shocking.
Embrace the bonds.
Yeah.
Speaking of bonds, new James Bond movie's coming.
That's what I hear.
And I love Daniel Craig as James Bond, but he says, you'll have to rip me up or tear me up or bury my dead body before I play James Bond again. And I'm like, what? Listen, he's not listening to this, but damn, he's an awesome James Bond. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So
I've seen one of the movies with him as Bond, and it was very good. I don't remember the title of it. It was
Bond
2 years
is
ago.
not a very, when you read the Ian Fleming books, I've always gotten the impression that Bond was not like a pretty boy. He's sort of gritty. He's sort of rough around the edges.
So Roger Moore was probably a little
too pretty. I love
fancy.
Roger Moore.
Yeah, no, I like him
but he
too.
was
Too polished.
and I always felt Pierce Brosnan would be, but way too pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't shoot, I can't run, but I don't want to get my hair out of it. But man, Daniel Craig is raw.
Daniel Craig reminds me of Vladimir Putin.
Stop that.
Yeah,
He
there's,
does.
there's a resemblance there. I can see that. Yeah.
He's better looking than that.
There's
But I see where you're going.
Yeah,
with that.
there's
I
a
see where
resemblance
you're going.
there.
with that. But I'm looking forward to Mr. Craig as Bond. But listen, you got to embrace bonds themselves. They do good things.
Yeah.
They balance the rest of your portfolio, right?
Absolutely.
If there's fear in the market, where does the money go, John?
It goes into U.S. Treasuries.
And
As
even
always.
maybe in some cases corporate, but extreme fear.
Yeah.
We see U.S. is still considered the best place on earth, right? America, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, we're all messed up, but nothing is really going to happen overall. It's
Right.
the belief in the American people. Therefore, treasuries will always, or seem to be now, the best place to be. And they
Yeah.
have been through history.
They have been through our history. It's the risk-free rate of return. It's still viewed that way. I think we're AA now, not AAA, but it doesn't seem to matter.
Man, remember when the U.S. got downgraded?
Yeah,
I was like, where am I standing? I lost all balance. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck is going? What is exactly the risk-free rate now?
Well,
Where are we? What kind of alt universe are we in?
What kind of, right.
You know? And I'm not talking about this studio with all the Christmas lights. I'm talking about reality. Right? So, again, 4% on the S&P so far for the. How about small caps? Anything? You got any updates on any
small
of the
caps
other? I know we always talk about the S&P, but obviously the market's.
Yep, I don't
greater
have a
than
number
that.
on the Russell 2000, but I think it's considerably higher. It might be 6 or 7.
Small caps have
on the year.
really outperformed.
They really have, and so they are at their all-time highs, I think, as a result. Real estate has come back a lot.
Dramatically, right? So
down.
real estate investment trusts, which are interest rate sensitive, so therefore they get tied into this bond-like investment. So as yields go up, they get hammered. We've seen some recovery.
Yes, they were down around 10%, depending on which index you're looking at their lows for the year, and that's when bonds were really dropping too. And now they've come back. So the main indexes, again, depending on which one you're looking at, it's down around 3%. So they've come roaring back 7 percentage points. That's a good return. I remember Lance was adding some when I first got here because they dropped so much. So that looks like it turned out to be a good trade.
How much care should you be placing in looking at those REITs, those real estate investment trusts, based on geography?
So it's important. I think if you're going to buy apartments, you probably want to now stay in California or stay.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where in Southern California, that's where rents are still going up. When I look at some of the publicly traded companies, rents are starting to slow down on the East Coast. So the West Coast is better. Both Southern California and Seattle. Although I have to say they're slowing down. This is shocking. Rent growth is finally slowing down in San Francisco as well.
Now, here in Houston, where this podcast is produced, we sometimes get a little bit of a mid-continent myopia.
Yeah.
And so you have to take that filter away.
Yeah. So Houston's kind of rough for apartments, I think. As I look at the publicly traded companies that have property here, there's not a lot of zoning here in Houston, as we've mentioned.
Yeah,
before.
we're the Daniel Craig of real estate.
Yeah, so you can.
I mean, like Daniel Craig needs a power wash? Is that what you're trying to say?
He's a little green and moldy on the north side.
And if developers have access to capital, they will use it and they will build.
Yeah.
And they will periodically crash their own market. I'm not saying the Houston market has crashed right now, but it's been difficult as I look at some companies' financial statements. It's been difficult for them to push rents higher here right now. So
Well, and in single-family development,
Yep.
there are some stupid public policies, my opinion, that are about to be put in place by the city of Houston as a knee-jerk reaction to Hurricane Harvey,
Yep.
which will not solve the problem of flooding. It's only addressing the symptoms.
right.
Which is what we always do.
Yeah, that's how government works. But the bottom line on that is it is going to impact valuations.
Yeah.
And my opinion, again, it's going to impact long-term development by some of these companies as well.
It may very well, yes. So
But that and a Coke will get you, that $1 will get you a Coke and the machine done.
Well, as you know, that can never happen again. This 4,000-year event. It's just like in the market. There's never, that financial crisis should have happened. Should have only happened every 8,000 years.
Right,
And then
it's
that
a
one
10
time it
sigma,
happened.
yeah.
And you know what's funny about these things, or what we call black swans? You only need one to totally wipe you out.
That's right.
Just one.
Yep.
So who cares if it's every 4,000 years? It's hitting me now.
All right, speaking of which.
Thank you, people. 3,000 years from now, you're all right.
Yeah. I'm going to bow out. I've got some financial advising duties.
John, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
John Coumarianos, our analyst here.
Now, if you go to realinvestmentadvice.com, we're writing every day. We are slaves to that darn blog, okay? So John writes some incredible pieces. He wrote, would you pay $100,000 for an iPhone?
I saw that.
Yeah. And it just goes about, again, I think John took it to a new universe as far as what the author was trying to do, which was to say how much has technology increased our productivity, our standards of living based on having no wage growth really for 20 years, by the way. And I still don't see it. Maybe it'll happen. But he's making the point that you're able to do so much more with so little. Think about what you can do with your phone today, your smartphone. Yeah. You needed a computer what size years ago to do with that?
The size of this room.
Well, I mean, to do what your smartphone does, right?
Yeah.
So you're more productive. So he was making a point, but it was just sort of funny because what John was bringing up was the fact that, this is all great and all, but I still don't have income to spend over the last 2 decades.
Well, there's a
counter. It's a great article, by the way.
Counter corollary to what he's talking about, too.
That's a big word right there. I don't even want to deal with.
I just wasted 45 minutes fiddling with this device a moment ago because I couldn't get an app to work.
Oh.
And I'm thinking while I'm working.
Just press it. That's how it works, Brent. You just press the button.
I got it worked
these
out.
These old people with their phones.
But it took 3/4 of an hour to do it. Now, that's 3/4 of an hour I'll never get back.
No.
And in some cases, these things actually cost us more in productivity than they are worth.
I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to think about it, and you're going to give me a number.
Okay.
If Apple had to give you $1 for every time you had to autocorrect, how much money would you have, Mr. Clanton?
I would be one of your best clients.
That?
Yeah.
I don't mean duck.
No.
Okay?
No.
And when I mean in, it's on. When I mean on, it's in.
Time.
I mean, come on with this. Okay, so autocorrect to me drives me insane. Only because I have to correct the autocorrect, and then the autocorrect is trying to correct my correct.
Right. Usually you have
and
to
I'm always
I'm
saying, am I incorrect?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's an insanity to autocorrect that I don't even want to go into.
I use a desktop app to get around that when I text. It's called Mighty Text.
Mighty Text.
It's free. I bought the upgrade because I use it in my work.
Okay.
But I can write texts using that app without autocorrect, using my keyboard on my laptop.
Well, and that's great.
Yeah.
Also, it just shows you how fierce competition is. But I remember BlackBerry. Mm-hmm. To me, BlackBerry had the best keyboard.
I loved my BlackBerry. I could text with no eyes.
One thumb, and you knew exactly where to go, and it was that easy. And I'm thinking, here's where Apple can segment. Mm-hmm. They could call it Apple Plus. Okay, anybody who's 50 and older, it'll be like a jitterbug, and maybe it has.
Giant
they could call
cheese.
it bitter apple because we all get bitter as we get older,
there
right?
You go.
Call it the bitter apple, Mr. Cook, and it'll have, all kinds of things plugged in that old people say, like "get off my lawn," damn kids, right? Andy Griffith, I hate you, Barney. I mean, all kinds of stuff that old people would say. But give us a keyboard back that was like the BlackBerry. I mean, they're geniuses. Why can't they do this?
And wasn't there was a hybrid for a while that had the touch screen on it, but it also had a little keyboard that would roll out from under?
It would roll out, yeah. I never got that. Every time that would roll out, it would roll back in.
Yeah.
It was like a turtle. I call it the turtle board.
It was fraught with problems.
Yeah. It's out, then you get in the pool of cold water, and it goes back in. And it comes out.
Little keyboard shrinkage?
Yeah. Oh, that damn keyboard is so tiny. On a sadder note, we have had just some tragic news about some major people. Kate Spade.
Yeah.
Right? And Anthony Bourdain.
Today.
Yeah.
Or overnight, anyway.
And I think we just need to talk a little bit about that, only because, again, I think you try to wonder what happened. And I don't really like the whole social media making judgments and other things, because you don't really know what goes on in people's heads. You don't. I mean, I come from a family of suicide and depression, and demons are real.
Yeah.
And you just have to work with people to help them to be better, or they listen to their own signs. But
we had a conversation not long ago with a specialist talking about the trauma that people experience in different fields of work, and financial planners among them, because you empathize with your clientele. You see disasters that are not of your making.
Sometimes you might absorb others, the impact of others.
Yeah.
And actually, I believe, like, even with Anthony Bourdain, who was a great writer, and his show, but I do think that, he had this bad boy image many times because I think he absorbed a lot of the stories, some of the bad stuff that he's seen, and they always lived with him. But you never know what's going through somebody's head to take that step. You just have to wish everybody the best and say, some of the most exceptional people who are very intuitive find that this might be a way out. They're very successful. Look at Robin Williams, right? Didn't he do the same? And he knew he was ill. To come to that conclusion is... I mean, it's a personal choice. It's not a good choice, but it's a personal choice. And you're not. I don't believe in judging anybody for doing that, because you don't know what kind of demons and issues they were dealing with at the time to get to that step. So.
Robin Williams' case, he knew that he had this illness.
Whatever, I can't remember what it was, but he knew.
But he was never going to get better, and so he chose to end his life on his own terms. For you can call it what you want, but that's my understanding of what he did.
Yeah. And you never know. Say, for example, maybe you won't know, but you never know. Maybe these two popular people here that just passed, maybe they had some issues, health issues. Maybe you never know. Maybe this all comes out after the fact.
Well, and they were both very successful.
Very successful. So it shows you that it knows.
But what is the definition of success?
Right.
Suicide
and knows no status, right?
Right. Our society has redefined success, and this blasted social media stuff has become an integral part of that formula, for better or for worse. And in some cases, it's for worse, because we're all now having to compete with everybody's perfect ideal of what life is. You never see the bad stuff posted on social media.
It's always good. You do, but not as often. You always see the best of things that are out there.
Right. And I think that has a huge impact on people, especially those who are going to be weak or have a proclivity to,
I shared on Facebook today a piece about how my mother tried to kill herself and what I went through.
Yeah.
But I also shared that you have to go through periods of greatness or things. When you look at social media, you have to really compete against yourself. Don't compete against others. Don't try to. It's hard to do. It takes training. But if you can influence one life positively, you'll feel better.
Yeah.
And that maybe is your own life. Because we know what's out on Facebook most of the time or social media is the best of what's happening. The successes.
Yeah.
Once you learn, I think, once you learn that you define greatness on your own terms, and it could just be it could be very simple. For some people, it's accomplishing a task a day, whatever that definition is. When you see that good news for somebody else, you don't feel anxiety or jealousy. You go, that's awesome. Good for them. And if you take that attitude, you feel better, but you have to work at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's a primal human thing to get, their life is perfect. But nobody's life is perfect.
No.
You just had Anthony Bourdain, who looks like he had everything. Best writer, traveler, good-looking dude. I mean, he had everything going for him, right? But yet something was not right.
Something was wrong, and that was the outcome.
So that's just a sad story.
It really is.
Kate Spade as well. Don't want to minimize that.
No.
This death by hanging thing seems very. I don't know if there's like levels of this that like I would be a real coward and not look to hang myself. It's horrible. I mean, what gets you to that point? So I just say, I bless them both and say, I hope they're at peace.
And if you're contemplating something like that, reach out for help.
Ask
for help.
I mean,
let
I
someone
wrote
know.
today about divine intervention in this, and that you need to take a step back and look at signs to tell you that you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And those signs sometimes are very, very, very small, and you got to learn to appreciate those little things a little bit. You'll never see your dog look out the window again. You really have to get it to this level, and that's when the divine intervention, you open your mind and the demons start to level off. Then call or talk to a professional.
Yeah. You made a comment on one of the shows this past week in the afternoon that we are all part of a giant social experiment where life is in a petri dish. And
well, it's like economics,
ongoing.
right? Is a social science, and the economists that sit behind walls and write great theories. I mean, I respect a lot of them, but for the most part, every person is an economist.
Yeah.
You live in this petri dish of social science every day. You know if you haven't gotten a raise in 20 years. You know if your credit card bills are out of control. You know that you hate your job and you can't find another one. Whatever it is, you ebb and flow because you're part of the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So people themselves, when I meet with clients or people that want to come on and be part of the Clarity family and they listen to Lance and all that, I'm always love the stories. And I ask their observations about what they've gone through and all that, because everybody's got an economic story overall. And sometimes the people with the PhDs and all this stuff, yes, do they have economic stories too? But they're sort of sheltered away into the 1% to 10% world. 80% of the population might be going through something a bit different. The data doesn't tell you everything. That's why Lance digs underneath it. While we do at Underbelly, we show you the underbelly of what the numbers really mean. Because on the surface, a lot of these charts look great, and they look rosy, and then some of them justified. But a lot of them aren't.
Yeah.
When we've been looking at wage growth, we see that 80% of the population has not experienced the wage growth. Okay?
And
we see it, the corporate tax bill. Hey, we're investors. We invest for clients. We love the corporate tax bill. More buybacks, R&D. We've had more capital development. That's all good, but it's not filtering down to the workers who actually spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We said that. Lance has been saying that. It's not a good or bad. It's not a bearish or bullish observation, which everybody, you know how like politics, everybody's all black and white.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Democrat, I'm Republican. I can only look through these two prisms.
Mm-hmm.
In financials, in financial services, Wall Street, you're always in the bear side or you're always on the bull side. As soon as you say something out of your mouth, they're wanting to put you on a bull or a bear. And what I tell Lance is our job are to be eagles. We're supposed to be above that and look at the bulls and the bears and focus on the big picture, because we don't put ourselves in a bullish or bearish camp. We just provide the data. And when the data changes, we change. But right away, you start to tell somebody, listen, you have a sell discipline. You take profits. Anything with the word sell in this industry, I might as well wear one of those cloaks with the I'm about to be with a Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're a bear. Because the word sell is a 4-letter word. And it's not. Okay? It doesn't mean you're all out of the market. It just means that you are managing risk along a long-term path. So we know we have a lot of people who read our stuff. And by the way, I don't know if you signed up for the newsletter, but every Saturday, if you go to realinvestmentadvice.com, sign up for the newsletter, you'll have Lance's newsletter that comes out, gives you a great overview of the markets, how we're investing. We get so many questions that submit questions to Ask Lance from people every day trying to make decisions.
And we appreciate those questions, too, because they actually feed the responses that we're able to generate.
The reason I love to meet people, as far as just helping them, is, I'm like, I never thought about that. I never thought about writing. One of the things that I learned was people connect assets and liabilities strangely. Mm-hmm. So meeting with a lot of people, unusually, not a lot, but just enough to get the hairs on the back of my neck going, that say, hey, I'm taking Social Security early at age 62, which is a 25% haircut, by the way. And this $1,800, my mortgage is $1,800. So I figured it was a good idea to take Social Security, and now I don't have this mortgage. Look how smart I am. And I want to whip them with a feather. Let's go ahead and lump sum and talk about how much you have given up in benefits and Social Security by at least not waiting until full retirement age. Could be 66, 67 in a couple of months, whatever it is. Not only you, but you and a spouse, or you and a spouse and survivor. So, okay, you gave up, if hopefully you live a nice life, 84, 85, 86 years old, you have given up $2 million for this $80,000 mortgage for a house that maybe, just maybe, grows by 1.5%.
Yeah.
Money's fungible. It flows through everything. We compartmentalize it, and sometimes we make the worst decisions ever. But these are the kinds of things that I'll learn, and then I can gently correct. We had one individual who had just started taking at 62. He was only 4 months in. I had him pay back the benefits because you get 1 year to pay it back and start all over again. And when I showed him what he was giving up for him and his younger wife, who was going to depend on those spousal benefits, he went, oh, my gosh. And to your point, that's the rewarding part of being a fiduciary or a financial partner. You can help people look at it from 30,000 feet, that eagle view, and then work down and see the light bulb go off. So you're right. If it weren't for people who write us every day and send us information and tell us their stories, we would not have any material. Well, Lance probably would, but he's a genius and all.
Well,
yeah, I know.
You get material from just walking around, because I know that's how you operate.
Oh boy, I get some material even from going to the grocery store.
Exactly.
You want me to go into that?
I do. Yes. This is too good a story not to share.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I write, as you know, in the process of writing a screenplay. Mm-hmm. I want to bring back The Rifleman. You remember the show?
I love The Rifleman.
The Rifleman, everybody says, is a Western, and I can argue, yeah, but it's really more a story of a son and a father trying to raise his boy. Mm-hmm. And it's always between doing what's the right thing.
Yeah. Now, is this going to be a period Western that you're writing, or it will be an updated Rifleman with an AR-15?
No. No, it will not be an AR-15. No, it will be a redo of the show in a large format, movie format.
1800s.
Yes, 1860s. Mm-hmm. I had to build Lucas's backstory, though, because there's really not much of a backstory.
We don't know much about him, do we?
You will now.
Ah.
And you will know about Micah. And you will know how Lucas's wife really died, because this all comes out of my head.
Cool.
Okay, so I listen to people, and that's how I get dialogue. Mm-hmm. I write for other shows and other things, and it helps me manage money. My friend James Altucher, who's a great writer, well-known writer, I said I never read nonfiction. I never read fiction because it seems like a waste of time. I only read biographies and market stuff, and he goes, listen, try this. Try reading nonfiction. Try reading the classics. And you're going to be better at everything you do, including managing money. And he was absolutely right. So when I write stuff for The Rifleman and I write stuff for TV shows that I work on, I get better at managing money because it's all about empathy and understanding emotion and
how people interact.
Yeah, it really has built my empathy bone, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I go to the stores and I listen or I talk to people. And I was at a very well-known grocery store the other day, and I always like to shop off hours.
Oh, yeah.
And I look like a loser on Saturday night when everybody has a date, but that's okay. I'm in the supermarket like going, ha, ha, I got the aisles all to myself.
That's right.
So who's the real loser here?
Just you and the stock clerks.
Just me and the clerks. Right. And so I got about 10 or 12 items, and I'm online, and this beautiful woman comes up, and she's the next. It's only 2 people online. It's like, I don't remember what time. It's like 12 o'clock, 11:30.
Good looking?
like, all the air got sucked out of the room.
Good looking and dateless on a Saturday night, too.
Yeah, but it's like, this was during the day.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was during the day in the afternoon. And I went, oh, goodness. So she says, can I get in front of you? Can I check out, cut you off in line here? And
was she in a hurry?
Well, again, people can be like that, right? You ever been in a line and somebody says they have 2 items and, they go, listen, my car's right, whatever. And you've got all these other, you're like, sure, what's the big deal, right? You've got kids out there, who wants to argue, right? You got a couple of items. I don't think you're trying to get over on me. Mm-hmm. It's just like I actually let people in when they want to get into a lane instead of speed up.
The way you're supposed to.
Yeah, but that's not how we know it works, right? So I said, well, I looked at her cart. I looked at my stuff, and I went, well, we both have about the same number of items. So I asked her a question. And when I asked the question, I don't know if you've ever seen those cartoons when you look in somebody's pupils and you see the nuclear cloud, like something's just blown up.
Yeah.
I asked that crazy question, that one-word question that stumps a lot of people, that your kid always asked you and drove you crazy.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you need to go in front of me?
You blew her circuits.
And she really got flustered.
Yeah.
She just... here's this beautiful little blonde going. She sounded like the little engine that couldn't, right? Or could, from what I remember. Which one was it?
Little engine that could.
That could.
Yeah.
Well, she couldn't. Okay, because she was trying to cut in front of me, and I wouldn't let her little engine get there.
Yeah.
So I saw she was a little frustrated, and then she comes out and she gives me her answer as to why. And the answer was she's a woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The answer was she's a woman.
She pulled the woman card.
She was.
Yeah.
There was no denying.
Yeah.
She was a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had no doubt. So I said, okay, I'm going to handle this the Lance Roberts way instead of the Brooklyn Donald Trump Queens way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be very nice about it or just let it go. I'm going to roll it off my back. But I said, I'm a big believer in equality. I have a daughter. She's 19. I have a big believer in the Me Too movement. So my decision would be is for you to wait in line with like the rest of us. And more clouds in the eyes.
Oh.
And then like the other part of the cartoon where the hat comes, the head explodes and
steam out the ears.
She's taken all her stuff because she already assumed that I was going to let her go.
Really?
So she walks off. She doesn't make a scene, which I give her credit for. She doesn't like turn around and call me an asshole. Mm-hmm. That's happened to me a lot. Matter of fact, I think that might be my middle name now. Richard A. Rosso. A-hole. A-H. So I get to the counter and I pay, and I'm observing the woman at the register. Very nice woman.
Yeah.
Her name starts with a B. And she's all red, and I'm thinking she's going to yell at me now, too. Like, I have no manners. You're from New York. You suck. And she goes, you just made my day. No one ever tells that woman off. Every guy lets her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Married no matter what. And guess what? Some of them pay for her groceries.
Really?
Yeah. So instead of I thought that this wonderful woman would be mad at me, that she said, you've made my day. I've been waiting for somebody to put her in her place.
That was act one of a 2-act scam.
It really was. Now, she was on another line when I walked out.
Oh, I bet she was.
And I heard Mr. Roberts in my head. Because Rich, take a breath. Take a breath. And I said, I was going to tell the guy in front of her that be careful. Mm-hmm. But I was like, why am I even going to bother?
Yeah.
I just exited the store. But I had a great story.
That's right.
I had a great story. So listen, we all live in this this petri dish, and we all know about economics. We all know when things maybe don't feel as good at work. We see consumer confidence. We know it's at wonderful levels. People might be feeling more secure about their jobs. We've seen unemployment at record lows. We are seeing more jobs than we have people to fill them. I'm not necessarily sure that's a good thing. I have a feeling that you can take it to a way that means that there's something very, very, very wrong. And what I mean by that is, how could we have jobs that are not being filled? Does that mean everybody is working, or everybody who could be working just decides that they really don't want to?
And what kind of jobs are these that are going unfilled?
Well, you almost have two ends of a spectrum. You have service jobs that are very much in demand.
Like
I dare you to
restaurant
drive.
workers
I dare you to drive around town and not find a help wanted sign.
Yeah.
If you want a job in America, you've got it. May not be the job you want, but you've got it. So I was in Nashville, which is becoming a prominent convention city, and talked to people who are professional servers. That's what they do, and they said they can't find enough people. So you have that level, and you also have skilled workers. That there's a dearth of skilled workers, right? We need truckers, we need welders, we need people that are skilled labor. There's I don't know if it was, I can't remember the railroad, but looking for engineers.
BNSF, I believe it was.
Right, and it's a tough
Mechanics.
I
tell you what, being a mechanic these days is not like the old days. You got to have
if
computer
you're a welder,
literacy.
If my daughter would have said to me, Dad, I don't want to go to college, I want to be a plumber or an electrician, I would have hugged the hell out of her. I mean, it's honorable. We need these people. It is guaranteed work.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes working for a company is not security. It was security in the 50s. It's not security today.
You know, I've been in radio for...
Oh, gosh, you're like in the worst industry for security,
well, I know.
Brent.
My parents were both educators. They worked for the same school district for their entire careers.
And then got a pension?
Absolutely. They're living on it right now. Dad turned 89 on Monday. Mom will be 89 in September. They're both
You know what they say
healthy.
about you, right?
Oh, they
Where
thought
did
I was
my
nuts.
boy go wrong?
Exactly.
Radio.
By the time I was married in 1979, I'd already had a string of jobs in the radio business.
Oh, even then, like you've had...
Okay. Exactly. And, you know, in the past 40 years, I worked for countless companies, countless radio stations, and I think I was probably on the leading edge of this new way that we have to work, that nobody works any place for more than 3 or 4 years anymore. It just doesn't happen.
Well, if not, then they're letting you go. It's not like even if you want to be
there.
That
happened an awful lot.
And we're seeing actual mobility of individuals really slow down dramatically. Part of it is that the workforce is aged, and people who are older just don't want to be mobile. But interesting, I've been reading a lot about rural communities and the economics of rural communities that had huge manufacturing concerns.
Yeah.
Like Anchor Hocking Glass. Remember them?
Yeah.
Right? And finding that even younger people in these rural communities where there are no jobs, that they don't leave either.
Well,
like what happened to mobility where the job is over there and I'm going to get up and I'm going to go? We don't see that anymore.
Do you know why College Station and Bryan are such huge communities now?
I love that area, by the way.
Is because kids went up to A&M to go to school and didn't leave when they graduated. They thought, hey, this is Nirvana. This is where we want to raise our family.
You know, we just opened the Moe's Pub up there, which I'm part of.
Yeah.
We have one in Vintage Park. And and I hadn't been up there for a couple of years. No, a year and a half. No, it's a couple of years. And I couldn't even believe in the development in the last 2 years. But there is something magical about the town. It's growing, so I'm sure you can find work overall.
Well, and that entire region up there, Washington County, for example, is a mecca now for retirees wanting to buy property and land and live in the country and that kind of lifestyle. Whereas 10 years ago, you could fire off a cannon in there and not hit anybody.
But my message is the workforce is changing dramatically. We have more job openings than we do people to fill them. And that's being communicated or perceived as positive. And I'm saying, well, I'm not sure that's positive. If you look at the growth in disability or transfer payments since the financial crisis, people might be doing the math in their heads going, well, why do I need to work when I'm getting these transfer payments? And I don't need to do the job. And there's something noble about work, regardless of the work. So if there's anything that the president and the administration can do is really start digging into those programs and start peeling some people off of those roles that can take some of the jobs which are available out there. So if you want to work in America, you can have it, but you're going to go through that and say, well, if I make X just sitting home versus Y, why am I going to go?
Like the woman in the grocery store.
Yes, I'm going to get
little nuclear clouds are going to go off in their eyeballs.
Well, I don't want to mention anybody's. My friend, his name starts with a B, but he uses a lot of this social media dating thing that I won't do. But not that there's anything wrong with it; it just scares the hell out of me. But I met somebody the other day, a woman she's a Tinder expert.
Really?
Yeah, she says, listen, I haven't had to pay for a dinner or food in about 2 years.
Really?
Well, because she goes out on dates and they pay for it. Everything gets paid for.
Somebody we mutually know?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm sure there's somebody like that we do know.
Yeah.
But, and I'm like, I'm amazed. And I'm like, well, tell me more. Again, I want to know your story. Like, how do you do? She goes, well, I think my food budget's like zero because I go on a Tinder date every night and then I don't eat the full meal. I bring it home and I'm like, holy moly, this is a whole business.
That's a sitcom waiting to be written.
Is it?
Right there.
The Tinder,
right there.
The Tinder trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Tinder lifestyle. I mean, this woman can basically get everything paid for if she works her cards right.
Uh-huh. And again, I even asked the most very uncomfortable question because I was talking to her enough, and I think she had enough bourbon for me to ask her. Do you have to, do anything?
Yeah.
Any clothes? No. Nope. End of the night, everybody goes home, but I get my meal and had a great time, and everything's on the up and up. No funny stuff, and I'm like, oh well, listen, more power to you. I mean,
she doesn't even have to cut in line in the grocery store.
No, especially if she gets me and I say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I got this woman in the grocery store to change her tactics.
You think?
Instead of having 12 or 13 items, maybe she only goes up with 2 or 3, and then I probably would have let her through. See, if she would have had 2 or 3 items and said, I'm in a hurry, I probably would have let her in. But she had a different agenda.
I probably would have, too, at that point.
I mean, I've done that.
Yeah.
For men and women.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't think anybody tries to abuse that. If
it's a gender-neutral
I'm in a
thing.
real hurry and, hey, what do I care? Go ahead. 2 items.
I'm going to stand in line and check my voicemail or
what's
email or something.
another 2 minutes in line, really?
Exactly.
So, again, it's just interesting how people make money. The gig economy is amazing. I know more 40-year-olds who drive Uber and work all these gig economy jobs, and younger people, too, who really enjoy them, by the way.
Yeah.
They love the freedom of having these gig jobs.
Sure.
And but I worry because if you look at where these younger people are, the Gen Zs and Ys who run these gig jobs or work for even small businesses, they have no retirement plan.
That's the back.
And that's a big shame. So they're not in the same position as their parents were at the same age when it comes to saving for retirement. It's a little scary.
Look at us. We didn't think we were going to be able to fill this 3/4 of an
Are we
hour,
over
but
already?
we did. Yep.
I don't even know what we talked about.
Yeah.
Talked about nothing.
You can watch it in just a few minutes. We'll
goodness.
be posting it up on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching us this afternoon on the Underbelly Podcast. For Richard Rosso, John Coumarianos, and the rest of the team here at Clarity Financial, I'm Brent Clanton. We'll see you on the Internet.